Gorga, great god of the jungle, protector of our village, we prepare an offering to you. We make ready sacrifice.
The mighty Gorga, looking uncannily like a large actor in a gorilla suit, about to employ his ceramic teeth to masticate a sacrificial maiden. Gorga is just one of the mind-freezing creatures we'll be meeting in this survey, which will include a giant lobster, several different varieties of deadly virus, and a carpet that eats people, starring in the kind of film that drives people to eat carpets. Because not all the films we shall be looking at were as subtly made as the mighty Gorga. Some of them had budgets so low that if the director fainted from hunger and fell in front of the camera, the shot stayed in. There being no money for retakes. Dying a sudden death at the box office, these amazing films were either chopped up for guitar plectrums or stashed away on cheap wooden shelves to gather dust. But there, something incredible happened to them, something quite unforeseen by their disappointed creators, like some humble vintage left to itself in the cellar that turns out against all the odds to be a superb wine. There's a kind of simplicity that leads on to greatness, especially when the subject matter deals with the primitive subconscious, which we all share. No accident, then, that some of the most dazzling of these cinematic attempts to stir our innermost fears take prehistoric times as their stamping ground. Just such a tour de force was 1 million years BC, made in 1966 AD, and starring Raquel Welch as the object of contention between rival tribes of cavemen, speaking authentically cavernous dialogue. Raquel is the pelt-clad proto-feminist who meets up in this scene with her rival suitors, one of whom seems to be Bjorn Borg, pursuing a film career subsequently abandoned. The boys are engaged in research and development on their latest weapon system, codenamed the Udala.
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 Ahot.
Ahot. Ahot.
Ahot. Duana. Ahot. Duana.
Tumak.
Tumak.
Tumak win, Bjorn lose. And now we know what speed writing sounds like read aloud. But 1 million years BC was a comparatively big budget area of the primeval time frame, with money available for fur bikinis. When the man-hungry heroines of Wild Women of Wongo went hunting their human prey, they were obliged to wear boned and wired one-piece nylon simulated leopard skin playsuits, largely indistinguishable from female beach fashions of 1,001,950 years later. They had one big advantage in their part of the jungle, however. They'd all learned English, some of them in Santa Monica, some of them in the Bronx.
Auntie, what are you doing here? That's none of your business. Omu put you on watch. Who stands guard down at the stream? Omu? Omu's no king. The canoe came by and I rode in it because I was hungry. If Omu wants a watch kept, she can keep it herself. Auntie is off her post. Who is Omu to tell us what to do? I'm tired of that. We've been here longer than 1 moon, and Omu says do this and do that, and all of you jump. I don't have to do anything I don't want to do, and nobody can make me. And I'm not going to stand one. The 8 men will come. Let the 8 men come. Our own men are never coming back. Do you want to live here the rest of your life without any men at all? Wouldn't be like you. Shut up!
discussion continues for another moon or two, and then the lovelorn girls sail away in search of men. But first they run into what looks like a full-blown feminist movement.
The women of the 8 men. Don't let them see us. They'll kill us. Oh, no, these women are from Guna, I'm sure. No, no, unless the 8 men live in Guna. Well, I'll ask them if it is Guna. Do you dare go? Guard me with your spears. Good day, sisters of Guna. I come in peace. Then go in peace. I come with my sisters to beg food and safe shelter. The 8 men have destroyed our village.
You come from Wongo.
How did you know?
We have heard of the Wongo women.
Lana?
You come in peace with spears.
We're attacked!
But after another moon on Guna, the weight-watching Wild Women of Wongo are rewarded in their man quest by what looks like a hotel swimming pool full of lifeguards.
Oma! It's the women of Wongo. What are you doing here?
I was hoping we'd see you.
So, Wongo has come to Guna after all. Where are your friendly men?
There isn't any Wongo. The 8 men took it. There are no more men. Come out and we'll cook your meal.
And that was how the dream girls of Wongo met the drongos of Guna. But the terrors of the prehistoric past are as nothing to the nightmares unleashed by the technological present, where nature, violated by man's boundless scientific ambition, gives birth to such monstrosities as only the imaginative power of great filmmaking can record. One such film was The Swarm, an epic story of how killer bees ate an American town and went on to threaten the entire country. The Swarm was several kinds of cinematic miracle. A miracle of script writing turned Michael Caine into a scientist, and a miracle of special effects enabled half the actors in Hollywood to be eaten by bees. In this scene, Richard Chamberlain and Jose Ferrer get caught by the Swarm. The stunned expression on Chamberlain's face when the bees arrive might possibly be the result of his having failed to read the small print in his contract. He thought he was in a film about the lack of safety measures in nuclear power plants.
Billions of dollars have been spent to make these nuclear plants safe, fail-safe. The odds against anything going wrong are astronomical, Doctor.
I appreciate that, Doctor, but let me ask you. In all your fail-safe techniques, is there any provision against an attack by killer bees?
Andrews here. Come in, Control. Control, this is Andrews. What's happening? Control, go to manual. Bees. Let's get the hell out of here. No, this way.
Killer bees, it will be noted, induce slow motion in their victims. They also tend to produce paralysis at the box office, where The Swarm never made the money that some of us who admire its imaginative sweep think that it should have. But there was an audience for a breakthrough of a different kind, a piece of marshmallow soft porn called Some Like It Cool, which in 1962 was regarded as so daring that men queued in raincoats even though it wasn't raining. The creation of that formidable British cinematic talent, Michael Winner, the film featured some extraordinary low-temperature acting from British starlets working under the crushing pressure of tightly constructed underwear and round-the-clock elocution lessons from a speak-your-weight machine.
Rogers works at my office. She wants to become a member.
Oh, hello. This is Mary, my wife.
Hello. Well, I'll come with you to the office, and after the formalities of joining, we can go to the chalet and undress.
See you later.
You've picked a wonderful day for your first visit. I can't wait to get in the sun.
It does look lovely, and the members seem so pleasant.
I bet you will. Are you going to get undressed?
Yes, of course I am. It is the first time.
I suppose we all felt like that. But only for a moment. Oh, once you get out there, you'll find it much more unnatural to wear clothes. Oh, at first you think everyone is staring at you, but they're not really.
I know it's silly, but it still seems quite a step to take.
I'll nip out and see who's here.
Do come back. I'd like you to show me around.
I'll be back in a minute, okay?
Fine.
Don't laugh. If you were balancing a pile of dried elephant's droppings on your head, you'd be moving carefully too. When she presses the trigger, by some miracle the bra comes off gently instead of flying across the room and burying itself in the wall like a pair of throwing knives.
Really? I certainly am.
Good. Then I'll show you the camp.
And obviously there's no lack of eager members. Naturalistic acting technique, by the way, is no recent discovery. In the first days of the talkies, the film Atlantic was already demonstrating that if a gifted actor knew how to submerge himself in everyday experience, he could convey an incandescently penetrating insight into human behavior. Atlantic was based on the Titanic disaster, the real one, not Lou Grade's. The ship having hit an iceberg, Captain Lanchester has the unenviable task of breaking the news to a wealthy, wheelchair-bound passenger. This scene is remarkable not just for the individual performances, but for the way they combine to express unbearable tension. The dialogue makes creative use of silence, so do not adjust the sound on your set.
I want to know, sir, if I can get you into a boat straight away. There is enough passenger room, we believe, for all the women and children, if they are packed pretty closely. There may be room for a handful of men.
Me? Why me?
Well, sir, this is no time for mincing matters. You can't look after yourself like any other man on the ship.
Why, you talk as though it were damn serious.
The ship has 3 hours to live.
Manchester!
No! No!
It's always possible, of course, that instead of an iceberg, the ship hit a swarm of killer bees, and everybody switched to slow motion. The opposite applies to our next film, in which the rapid editing builds high emotion into scenes you could miss entirely by blinking back a tear. Although the more conventional critics were apt to scoff when it first came out, Beyond the Valley of the Dolls is by now an established classic, playing to packed houses wherever it is shown. It's the story of a teenage pop group which can't handle success and all that success brings with it. Rich food, rich decor, and above all, rich dialogue. In this scene, one of the boys has just leapt from a lighting gantry during a TV taping session, and the rest of the group crowd the hospital waiting room to search their souls.
Wasn't enough for me to mess up my own life. To screw up hers.
Kelly, everyone's guilty.
But he's still alive, isn't he?
Sometimes you learn too late. How much people really need.
I don't give a damn! It's still my fault!
Don't blame yourself, Kelly. What happened to Harris happened for reasons you don't know anything about.
What the hell do you know about it?
I'm going to have his baby.
Unit
course, friends. I'm Dr. Shaw. Regrettably, we have discovered traumatic shock to the spinal column, resulting in massive nerve dysfunction. However, in a very small percentage of these cases, there is spontaneous repair of the damaged tissue. But you must remember, this is extremely rare. With proper rehabilitation, there's every reason to believe that the patient can adjust a useful and, yes, a rewarding life as a paraplegic.
Massive nerve dysfunction. Such sophisticated technical terms mark Beyond the Valley of the Dolls as a classic of the 70s. In earlier times, teenage movies were much simpler. Many of them mentioned teenagers in the title, none more weirdly than Teenagers from Outer Space, in which flying saucer aliens arrive in a Hollywood backlot to find grazing land for their gargans. A gargan is a lobster-like domestic monster which under earthly conditions swells up and terrorizes any district not already terrorized by giant apes and killer bees. But more of the massive lobster later. Here come the aliens to show off their designer spacesuits and a command of the English language exceeding that even of the Wild Women of Wongo.
Surface readings register above minimum requirements. Morrow, go below and bring up the young Gargan specimen. Now the decision depends on its reactions.
Wait, Captain. I have found evidence of intelligent beings on this planet.
Of what concern are foreign beings?
Of none to you, Thor. Just as you were so unconcerned when you destroyed the small creature. So bravely.
It was no more than an insect.
But it had life. And that life you had to take to satisfy your endless hunger for killing.
Silence, both of you. Proceed, bring the Gargan.
That will not be necessary, Captain. Conditions here will be reported as unsatisfactory, as they were on the other planets we have charted.
By what authority?
You will prepare for takeoff. The ship will leave this planet immediately.
According to our code of operations...
You may forget the code of operations, Captain. Only civilized beings could have made the inscription on this metal piece. We shall not have the thousands of Gargans brought here to destroy them.
You have concern for foreign beings over our mission to locate grazing land for our Gargan herds? Recall, it is necessary as a reserve food supply for our people.
Our people? We live like parts of a machine. We don't know our fathers or mothers were raised in cubicles. The sick and the old are put to death.
It is the one and only way to maintain the supreme race. When we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture.
Perhaps because it can't stand any more of the dialogue, the Gargan escapes, puts on weight, and eats a passing archaeologist, not played by Jose Ferrer. In part 2 of this program, we'll be meeting other monsters, even more terrifying than the Gargan, but never one that cost less to make. After having the alien spacesuits tailor-made, there was no budget left over for building a giant plaster lobster and photographing it from a suitable distance. So they took an ordinary lobster and held it very close to the camera. The audience probably died of fright in the drive-ins.
Why aren't you in the cellar, Gramps, with Betty? What makes you think Betty's in the cellar? She's out somewhere with Derek again. Everybody's supposed to take shelter. The monster from the cave, it's approaching the town. Huh? Then that's where they must have gone. Those crazy kids. Joe, we've got to try and find them. You mean they... Come on, then, let's go.
Derek. The cricket. It's so quiet.
That won't work. Run. Go start the motor. Hurry.
It'd be nice to show the children the continent this year.
Then you're well away on the Wallace Arnold Night Rider. You travel through the night, and whether it's to the beaches of Lorette de Mar or the beauty of the Brenner Valley, you're saving time and money all the way.
Well, what are we waiting for?
For full details, see your local travel agent.
We got away!
There is a country to which I return again and again in my dreams. It's a country of golden sands and sparkling waters, stretching as far as the eye can see. It's a place of lovely gardens, picturesque fishing villages, haute cuisine and lively nightlife. It's called Newquay, St. Ives, Penzance or Falmouth. Simply the magic of Cornwall. So different, yet so close. Phone this number now for guide of your choice or see this week's TV Times.
Think of Greece and think of SunMed. For holidays in Greece, one word is all you need. SunMed.
Now, you mustn't laugh, but some people driving to the continent still head south with the crowds. Oh, forget about the clear roads to Hull and North Sea ferries. No, don't laugh. They don't even know that on North Sea ferries, a 5-course meal and breakfast are included in the fare. Or that either a cabin or a reclining seat is included too. Book North Sea ferries from Hull to Rotterdam or Zeebrugge and you're laughing.
Sore throat? Soothe it with TCP antiseptic. Gargling with TCP? Soothes your sore throat. Fast.
Yes, now's the time to start planning your summer holiday. Wherever you want to go, whatever you want to do, get ahead of the crowds by using the Yorkshire television coupon in the TV Times or telephone Leeds 440188.
March the Tailor's winter sale starts on Tuesday. Tremendous reductions in men's and ladies' fashions, and not a penny extra for credit. March the Tailor's dress you well. For a really good film, tune in to the first TV showing of Close Encounters of the Third Kind on YTV tomorrow night at 7:30.
Creature of unholy vengeance, born in the heart of a man and justly condemned to death.
Death, I shall be stronger than you in life. I will come back from hell and make you pay for your crimes.
The tree monster. Oh, now, Norgu, I know about cannibalistic flowers, but this tree monster is utterly unbelievable.
Dr. Mason, you are a wise lady. But there are many things even the wisest of us do not know.
Land of superstition, terror, and violent hatred. Where beneath the surface of the Polynesian islands, the earth gives grotesque and terrible birth to a monstrous creature, sworn to kill and torture and destroy.
I beg you, pull up the roots so it will die before it murders everyone.
You know what? I have an eerie feeling that this thing knows what we're saying. Nothing stingy to climb like this yet.
Relentlessly, the baranga pursues its prey. Impervious to destruction by mortal hands, ravaging the world in its madness.
We've got to find it. Let's go back. Come on.
Doctor, never saw anything like this. Those bullets bounce off like baby shot on a stone wall.
And to hell it can go, said an uncharitable reviewer when the film first came out. A prop tree that ate extras was obviously too horrifying for even a hardened film critic to take. But at least the baranga was of terrestrial origin and understood human values at some level of its warped consciousness. The monster in a film called The Creeping Terror came from elsewhere in the universe. Some lonely planet where the inhabitants look like a length of carpet draped over a garbage disposal unit, which has a craving for teenage flesh. Some scholars believe that was where the Who got the idea for smashing up their guitars. Also from distant worlds was the robot monster, who, like the carnivorous carpet, had a particular craving for teenage lovers. Going under the name of Roman, the robot monster was a landmark in the design of terrifying costumes, combining as he did the fur epidermis of the low-rent gorilla suit with a high-tech diving helmet. As innocent as our first parents in the Garden of Eden, a pair of heavily petting human lovers are all unaware of the looming nemesis.
I am ordered to kill you. I must do it with my hands.
You're so strong. It seems impossible.
We Romans obtain our strength from the planet Roman, relate our individual energizers.
Small enough to carry with you?
No, mine is in the cave.
Roman's low-slung crotch, incidentally, is a tip-off to his outer space origins. Nothing fits out there, probably because the amount of methane in the atmosphere means you can't see straight to cut cloth. Back to Earth, however, with Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, in which the monster is an ordinary human housewife, transformed by a virus of alien origins, which has allegedly increased the size of her body by a factor of 10, and her two-piece swimsuit along with it. Unfortunately, the virus seems to be confined to a low budget, so all we see of the giant woman is a large rubber hand. But we just know that the rest of her is around somewhere, if only because everyone else in the movie keeps referring to her at enormous length. We join Attack of the 50-Foot Woman when she is only 49 feet high, and her doctors are taking a breather from the thankless task of trying to arrest her development.
Never should have tried to keep this out of the papers. The poor girl, she's had so much publicity all her life. I'm afraid now there's no alternative. We'll have to notify the authorities.
If you hadn't succeeded in giving her that sedative, there's no telling what would have happened.
Well, thank heaven we got the chains on her arms and legs.
How long will the morphine be effective?
No telling with the size of her body, but we'll have to keep her under sedation till the state police arrive. I'll phone the authorities at Baker. Operator!
Stop her pushing a code. She's come to again. Stop her pushing!
Heather nurse, more morphine!
Operator. This is Barry, your operator. What's going on there? What's happening?
Hurry to that morphine!
She's loose!
Perhaps because so many monsters and viruses were constantly arriving from outer space, there was an urge to retaliate by sending human beings on the reverse trajectory. Missile to the Moon was an early but deservedly renowned example.
This is the countdown to scream a second suspense. Blast off! Rocket to the most astounding science fiction adventure of the age
as man reaches the moon and discovers a world of terror hiding in the vast void of outer space. These are the first 4 invaders of outer space. 3 men and a beautiful girl trapped by a faceless terror that slowly envelops them, holds them captive here on the edge of doom. See giant rock people who guard the sun. Look out! See a dwindling race of love-starved maidens who have the power to control man's every desire. A manless society which must leave this dying sphere or perish. See the creeping, crawling Black Death which threatens extinction of the earth. See the science fiction thrill of the year, a sensational look into the future that is as close as tomorrow's headlines.
Long before Neil Armstrong got there, the moon was already, in movie terms, old hat. The only destination that counted was outer space, capital O, capital S. Outer space being a long, long way away, the hero would be gone a long time, a factor that weighed heavily with the girl he left behind.
But Larry, spaceships are dangerous. I mean, you could lost up there or blow up or something. I wouldn't know what to do without you.
I'm sorry, baby, but I don't have any other choice. I'm the navigator, and they can't make a move without me.
That was the beginning of Queen of Outer Space, starring Zsa Zsa Gabor as the leader of a pack of repressed Venusian females bewailing the lack of men on their planet. In other words, the Wild Women of Wongo had become the voracious virgins of Venus. But before reaching outer space, our brave crew has to leave this planet. Note how the devastating acceleration necessary to escape the Earth's grip does strange things to the actors' faces and turns what would otherwise look like stock footage of an Atlas missile into a trinket from a cornflakes packet.
Starfire to control room, ready to take off.
Zero fun. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire.
Outer space, of which Zsa Zsa is queen, turns out to be a Poverty Row soundstage inhabited principally by the Gabor sisters. Although there is also a monster of particularly sinister aspect, made doubly dangerous by the way it propels itself at the victim, almost as if a couple of property men had thrown it from off camera.
You realize that's gold? The whole planet must be veined with it.
What is so different about gold? There's much here.
Incredible.
Such was American filmmaking in all its lavish splendor and technical skill. The British film industry could scarcely hope to match such a peak of cinematic craft, but it made a brave try with Fire Maidens from Outer Space, featuring love-starved women and the mandatory space monster, which, being a British space monster, inevitably looks like a rewound Egyptian mummy left over from a Hammer horror film about the curse of the Arab scarab. Our boys, having fought an entry into the Fire Maiden's sacrificial cloister, the monster seizes his chance. At the appearance of the monst, the J. Arthur Rank Charm School Vestal Virgins flee in consternation. Not an easy thing to do on tiptoe. As usual with British films of the period, the hero is of Latin origin, in conformity with the prevalent belief that sex was something which occurred on the other side of the channel, like rabies.
Austin! Thank God you found us! Kill it! For Pete's sake, shoot at it! Hurry! Bullet bounce off him! Throw the gas grenade!
By now it's becoming clear that to make movies like these takes more than just lack of money and lack of time. It takes a lack of that special something extra. In this respect, the most outstanding film director of all times is Edward D. Wood. For 20 years, Wood's films have been heaped with derision, but now, out of the mound of obloquy, his creations bloom like fresh flowers. More about Wood in Part 3, but here's a taste of one of his masterpieces, Plan 9 from Outer Space, also known as Grave Robbers from Outer Space, in order to make it clear that the alien creatures who have concocted Plan 9 are bent on stealing human corpses. In this scene, a cop dies fighting the phantoms, and then the chief of detectives arrives and demonstrates how not to handle a .38.
Those two back there. Suppose that saucer or whatever it was had something to do with this?
Your guess is as good as mine, Larry. Inspector Clay's dead. Murdered. And somebody's responsible.
I've got you under my skin.
The new Fiat Superstrada. Inside, it's been restyled with a new dashboard and electronic check panel. Yet outside, the shape is the same, because the Strada's unique design gives more passenger space. How much more? Well, enough to fit our biggest rival, the Ford Escort, inside.
I've got you under my skin.
Yet it still costs £694 less than the Escort. The new Fiat Superstrada. More space, less money.
Queensway's Super Sale 82, open all day Bank Holiday Monday. 3-piece suites, half price. Beds from under £50, half price. Broadloom carpets, half price. And free fitting on giant carpet stock.
Super choice, super value, superstore.
Queensway's Super Sale 82. It's our biggest ever.
A sentiment shared by many who saw Plan 9 from Outer Space, directed by Edward D. Wood. The flying saucers from outer space are again attempting to penetrate Earth's defensive screen. The flying saucers bear a startling resemblance to hubcaps, and the defensive screen is obviously any old stock military footage that happened to be available. But Wood was never one to let paucity of means cramp his style.
He died.
Looks like we beat them off again, sir. What do they want? Where are they from? Where are they going?
The U.S. military commander only looks like Gerald Ford. After all, what would an actor be doing in the White House? Long philosophical disquisitions abound in Wood's films. The aliens are even more keen than the humans on discussing their problems at length. Instead of retreating to their galaxy, the hubcap people stick around in order to discuss everything except their own taste in spaceship decor, which runs to creep. Elaborate salutes are compulsory in outer space, especially in Wood's version of it, where time is relative, not to say interminable. The battle between the hubcaps and the stock footage goes on so long that few people except Wood have ever found out who won. For those who stay the course, the film's complex philosophical themes are woven at the end into a rich verbal tapestry by Wood's own sure hand.
My friend, you have seen this incident based on sworn testimony. Can you prove that it didn't happen? Perhaps on your way home, someone will pass you in the dark, and you will never know it, for they will be from outer space. Many scientists believe that another world is watching us this moment. We once laughed at the horseless carriage, the airplane, the telephone, the electric light, vitamins, radio, and even television. Now some of us laugh at outer space. God help us in the future.
Ultimately, Wood's concern was with the serious examination of human values. Science fiction was only a mask for his deep social commitment, which in a film like Glen or Glenda was shown bravely, without disguise.
The world is shocked by a sex change.
If the Creator had wanted us to fly, he'd have given us wings.
If the Creator had meant us to roll around the countryside, we'd have been born with wheels.
If the Creator had meant us to be boys, we certainly would have been born boys.
If the Creator had meant us to be born girls, we certainly would have been born girls.
Are we sure?
Glen or Glenda was a pioneering drama documentary about the agonizing choices which then faced the average transvestite. As the intensity of the commentary indicates, this was a burning topic for Wood, who was a transvestite himself. Often he would arrive at the studio in high heels and a white Angora sweater, booming orders through a megaphone. In every other respect, however, he was a typical ex-Marine who made several landings in the Pacific. Although if the Japanese had captured him, they would perhaps have been at a loss to explain his underwear. Out of such a personality conflict came the anguished testament, which is Glen or Glenda.
This person is a transvestite, a man who is more comfortable wearing girls' clothes. The term transvestite is the name given by medical science to those persons who wear the clothing of the opposite sex. Many a transvestite actually wishes to be the opposite sex. The title of this can only be labeled Behind Locked Doors. Give this man satin undies, a dress, a sweater, and a skirt, or even the lounging outfit he has on, and he's the happiest individual in the world. He can work better, think better, he can play better, and he can be more of a credit to his community and his government because he is happy. Most transvestites do not want to change their life, their bodies. Many of them simply want to change the clothing they wear to that is worn by the opposite sex. Glenn is engaged to be married to Barbara, a lovely, intelligent girl.
Those fingernails have got to go.
At this point, the lovely, intelligent Barbara has still not rumbled her apparently butch fiancé's secret. But despite the risk of losing her, Glenn can't resist drifting towards a lingerie shop to check out the merchandise.
Can I help you, sir?
Yeah. Let me see a nightie.
Oh, well, what size?
12.
The color, the material?
Black, I'm very sure.
Just a minute. Well, we have this here. Would you like that? Something like this? Has lace?
Yeah.
Perhaps he admires the material too long.
You can see how sheer the material really is. You see, it's all pure nylon and only $21.95. And of course, it will never snag.
Note the subtlety of Wood's direction. As Glen or Glenda reaches a climax, Glen wrestles with a terrifying challenge. Should he make a clean chest of it to the lovely, intelligent Barbara? Will she cast him forever into the outer darkness?
Glenda has made the decision. Glenn has decided to tell Barbara of his dual personality. To tell her of the nighties and negligees, the sweaters and skirts, the robes and dresses, the stockings and the high-heeled shoes, the wig and the makeup. All that goes to make Glenn into Glenda. He tells Barbara he cannot cheat her of the knowledge that she, as his fiancée, should possess. All the facts. He tells her softly, hurriedly at first, then slowly as he becomes more technical. His hands move the smooth material of her Angora sweater, which he has so long and so desperately wanted to put on his own body. He tells of this to her, and she looks to the sweater and to his hand. Then, when it is all over and that much of the story he knows is told, Barbara is not sure of her own thoughts.
That's about it, darling. I wanted to tell you for a long, long time, but just couldn't bring myself to do it. I've been too much afraid of losing you.
I don't fully understand this, but maybe together we can work it out.
Edward D. Wood never got the Oscar or any other film award of any kind. He died broke, with nothing to comfort him except a few old friends who would call him up to warn him when one of his movies was scheduled to appear on television. In fact, he was watching TV when he died of a heart attack. Yet now his films seem remarkable even for their time. Only a few years back, but somehow seeming like 1 million years BC, it was a time of innocence, when a giant lobster in a gorilla suit and a diving helmet could still be thought of as more evil than the humanity it threatened, when only the professor and his beautiful daughter could save humanity, when humanity still thought of itself as worth saving, when outer space still looked like a hairdresser's reception room, when what you marched for was to ban the bees, when a girl's desire to take off her bra was still an adventure, and a man's desire to put it on was a secret grief. It was a long time ago.
Double feature picture show.